Right, okay.
No.
That's some more new business.
All right, guys, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda, I'll accept the motion to approve.
Just had to alert that it's noisy out there and I'm pushing you out of the room.
Sure.
Clearly.
We're going a little out of order. Accept the motion to approve the non-public minutes from January 24th school board meeting.
I make a motion.
Matt, thanks.
Second?
Thanks, Brian. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Accept the motion to approve the regular minutes from the January 24th school board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Matt.
Second.
Thanks, Tony. Corrections, comments? Seeing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Motion to accept the non-public, it's the second set of non-public meeting minutes from January 24th school board meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Matt. Second.
Do I have that?
I'll second. It should be in the folder.
It's in the blue
In the
folder.
folder. Thanks, John. All in favor, aye?
Hold on.
No.
So this is the one that started at 8:38 and ended at 9:20, is that correct? Is that what I'm looking at?
I have more minutes than.
Yes.
Okay. At the top of that, it says January 24th, 2017.
Oh. Right, let's correct that.
Okay.
Missed it.
I
That was
also,
Aaron's fault.
we have 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
4 from the
Oh, yeah, it's
24th, and
Aaron.
I only
That's
have
right.
3. Am I
No, there's
missing
three,
something?
I've only,
You got one from the 31st.
You didn't notice?
oh, the regular.
Oh, you want me to
Regular
read
minutes
that?
are also the 24th,
Telling me something?
which we just did.
That's right. I'm out of order.
You're out of order.
All right, so with that correction, moving it, changing it to 2018. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Accept a motion to approve the return to public minutes from January 24th school board meeting.
Make a motion.
Thanks, Matt. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Approval of meeting minutes of January 31st, 2018.
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Matt.
The second?
Thanks, Brian. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Finally, accept a motion to approve the non-public minutes of January 31st, God, I can't say that, 2018.
I'll make a motion.
Make,
Thanks, Matt.
Second.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, correspondence. Judy, you have anything for us?
No, I don't.
I do. I'd like to wish you all a happy Valentine's Day.
Where are
We
the
do not
chocolates?
have time for that.
Deb, report?
Well, I was just gonna go over the audit report that was in your packet,
Yep.
and hopefully everyone saw that, and actually here is the full audit report, and copies in the SAU also. There were really no major findings. There were some findings, as they always have some findings. Last year, you guys had asked that the auditors come in and talk to the board, and we tried to do that, and then this summer, and then people were on vacation. So if you want us to just have the auditors come in, we can do that. We were kind of looking at the schedule today, probably sometime in April or May.
I mean, I think it would be beneficial
Yeah,
for the auditor to
I
sit
think it
with
would be
us.
good too.
Yeah.
So if you have any specific questions,
There's a couple copies of this in the,
that's the full audit, and then this is just their
okay.
management letter.
Just a couple comments, I guess.
Yeah.
There was reference to policies and being updated or at least reviewed, so
Yes, and we're working.
that's something the policy committee can look at. I think they recommended, some of them were over 5 years old, so they recommend
Yeah.
a little bit of a quicker schedule. And then, do we have procedures for the student activity fund? Because this
We
is the
do,
second
and
year
that,
this
I
was
know that
mentioned,
comes
right?
up, and again, we've had changes in personnel, but that,
it wasn't
there are
major,
forms,
but-
yeah, there's procedures, there's forms that staff has to fill out if they're gonna either take money out or put money in. So yes, and it is closely looked at through the audit.
And if you could just talk a little bit maybe about the capital asset listing?
Yeah, capital assets, so, I mean, I've worked in private industry before, and there you have like a full balance sheet. We don't have a full balance sheet, and you have fixed assets, and you have depreciation that you
Right.
expense on your income statement, which we don't have. In fund accounting, you don't have that, but one of the rules, I think it's GASB 34, we have to pretend and record our fixed assets on certain reports in that audit report.
Okay.
So as I'm going through the year, I do make up a list for the auditors at the end of the year, but they want me to maintain this huge list, which they do anyway. So at the end of the year, I'll give them any additions or deletions to our fixed assets, which is anything that is over a 1-year life and over $5,000. So anything that.
It's just equipment and.
Yeah, and it could be spent out of
technology,
our
buildings.
trust fund, it could be spent out of a grant, it could be spent
Okay.
out of the general fund. So it's coming out of any different fund, and we have a list of that. So I have never really maintained it. I can maintain it in Excel, but I always give them a list of the items anyway. And again, I don't record depreciation, but they do on some of the other statements. So that's what that is all about.
On the,
I think that was all I had, yeah.
The only other recommendation that they made for a treasurer, because some districts
Oh, a
have
deputy
a deputy
treasurer,
treasurer,
yeah.
we do not. It's more money, and it's just, our treasurer goes away on vacation sometimes.
Right.
And if it's a week, that's fine, but there was actually last year that she went away for like 3 weeks over Christmas, so
Deposits.
any of our big deposits, and the only big deposit, most of our stuff is ACH,
Yeah.
automatic into our account, except for the checks from the towns. So we've worked out if she happens to be going on vacation and that money comes in, her husband will actually drop off the check and we'll deposit it, because she does all our
So-
deposits.
Okay.
So that was
Is there like a
So that-
formal contract for this person to be the deputy treasurer so that we have?
Yeah, well, they're suggesting that we get a deputy treasurer. I'm not sure if I've talked to
Well,
other
does the
districts.
husband qualify as the deputy
Well,
treasurer?
no. Well, he's brought over the check so we can actually deposit it.
Oh.
No,
gotcha.
that,
gotcha, okay.
I mean, that's the way to get around some of the, because again,
I
both
see,
of
I
our,
see.
can that just be an assignment of one person that's already in the office, just is responsible
you know, I
for
have talked to
the
some other
checks
districts.
Without adding anything to
Yeah, I
the
have
job?
talked to some other districts that do have, and one of the SAUs, someone in their office is their treasurer, which I thought was kind of strange. In our district, we're small, so I do a lot of things, you know, I payroll, accounts payable, purchasing, so there's not a lot of checks and balances. So I would feel funny if someone, like, again, in their SAU, they have other people, you know, they have 5 other people doing the job of one person here. So I guess that's why they can have the treasurer in that office.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we could talk to the auditors more on that, and maybe they can give us some suggestions.
Well, the only part that like stood out to me though is like how it said that, like having stuff deposited in a timely manner, and then they finished that statement with saying within a week. So are we going past a week? Like what's?
No, just
If
that
they're giving
one
you a week,
period
then-
of time that she was on vacation
So
for like
that's
3 weeks.
more referring to that one incident.
Yeah.
So when they come in,
Yeah.
they're testing certain time, and if that's when they tested, right, then that's when it
Yeah,
gets
and
pulled.
they're
so-
looking at every bank statement, I mean, because cash, that's our big
But
account.
It's a team
Um,
of people that sit in that
Oh,
conference.
yeah, so they're looking at every aspect, so, yeah, they pick out, you know, when are the deposits going in, when
So
are the
it's a
checks written.
Snapshot in time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So who is our treasurer? Is it-
Sandy
what-
Dovolak.
Sandy. Now, is there a cost to get a deputy?
Yes,
How much is that cost?
well, I don't know, I'd have to kind of check with other districts, you know,
And should
'cause
it be a
there's,
Lincoln treasurer, Lincoln treasurer, or a Woodstock treasurer?
we're a cooperative
Woodstock
district,
treasurer's
you
the
guys appoint the treasurer, and technically they don't have to be from Lincoln or Woodstock, because they're not elected.
It would
They're
sound like we
appointed.
should have a deputy treasurer, I guess, if something happens. I mean, I don't feel safe,
Well, I think we
comfortable with the
talked-
husband,
Or
of the
it-
treasurer
or
bringing
do-
checks over.
Well, again, you just brought the mail over.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No, I know, and it's probably all, it's not really, I don't know, if something ever happened. It's kind of an odd thing to
Or
happen.
to have a backup. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe someone in the SAU could, my only concern is we're not a very big SAU. so it's not
I would say,
overwhelming.
yeah, just see what the treasurer.
Yeah, and we
not
can
the
ask the
treasurer, yeah.
auditors more, and I'll check with
Auditor.
other districts to see what they do, but some have used people in the SAU. So,
Well, thank you, I know that's quite a process.
yeah, so we'll try to get them in. We're looking at the schedule, although we don't have the new board schedule yet. But we're looking at it sometime in April or May to do that.
Thanks, Deb. Judy.
Okay, first, we're gonna have some members of the facilities will be looking at the scope of works for the roof and the flooring, and then it will be going out to bid.
Will they, because I was just talking to Brian before the meeting, are they gonna meet before the next meeting, which technically is,
Yeah, definitely.
okay, because I know policy
I'll
is
meet next
usually
week.
first meeting of the month. We don't have another meeting until
Right.
March, which is the first meeting. of the
Right,
month.
we wanna get this out before,
Before,
yeah, before,
Okay.
February.
Well, I don't know that we plan to have a meeting.
Well, my hope was that, my
Brian's
hope
gonna
was
go
that
and
we
make
could
sure
either come to, if everybody's in agreement, I have no problem reviewing it on my own.
Presenting to us at the next meeting.
And then
No.
discussing having it go out.
Oh, no, I'm talking,
It's based off of the information we already have. So basically, we've seen the whole thing, it's just how was it verbalized, put into wording. So there's nothing new. There's nothing changed. It's how it was worded for it to go out to bid, based on the scope that we already had existing. The scope from,
so what I'm asking is that at some point, I mean, it's gonna be next meeting, there will be information to present to the board.
Well-
Bids received?
Right.
Yes.
But,
Okay.
oh, yeah,
Bids,
well,
yes.
that's pretty,
I mean,
probably
we can
at
do
least a
that.
month-long bidding process for a job that big.
So your next one is.
My hope was to get it approved
We might have it back
to
by
be
the
sent out
annual
for
meeting.
bid. I mean, if it has to come back to the meeting, we're not coming back here for 3 weeks? Or more? 3 weeks?
March 7th is the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Unless you
then,
change
if we started after that process, then we're out past
the
our
annual
meeting,
meeting.
which
I
was hoping to have the
So
information so
the
that.
last school board meeting, though, we talked about,
You
because
don't-
I went in place of Aaron to Budget Committee.
Right.
They asked, Vance, can you bring this to the board and
Right.
see if the board would direct you guys to do this? So that was last meeting, which was 3 weeks ago. So it's
The
been-
facilities committee, the facilities.
So
is
what have
gonna-
we done since then?
We've collected all the scope of the works,
She's
and
built
we
the
have them
scope.
all.
Okay.
And so they're just gonna look at them, and then we can put them out to bid. Now, you're gonna need those bids for a number to confirm a number for the school district meeting. That's what that bid is for.
I understand that, yeah.
Okay.
I'm just, and I don't know, I'm not a facilities guy, I know Joe used to be and you are, but is 3 weeks, is that what it takes to put together the scope of the work?
Oh, before it goes out?
No, but in the last minutes, you guys said to
No.
bring the scope of the work to the facilities committee to
Right.
review before we put
And
it out to
because
bid.
of past things that have happened over the last month, facility committee kind of got knocked off because
Okay.
we were doing other.
Okay, I'm just asking.
No, but we were here, present for other opportunities, so we directed them to build the scope of work,
Okay.
which they have done, based off of this report, wherever my note is. That's what we discussed, right?
Correct.
So, we directed them based on that report to use that as the scope going forward, because that kind of had a set number around, I think it was $145,000 roughly, to complete the project if they tore up the thing, and so it gave like a good amount of
Information.
focus to the scope. And I might be totally wrong, but I think that it covered what needed to be done. We're not gonna do it to become an emergency shelter, we're doing it to fix and repair the roof. Take off the rubber, take off the stone, take off all that, get it back down to bare bones, surface it like a roof, and that's it. It's not gonna make it to code for being part of
Right.
this emergency
Yeah, I know.
shelter. We then took that information, which we were told, we can't use that because that's us going and shopping one product. And we weren't shopping a product, this company happened to come, this is the product they use. Someone else now that goes out to bid it with that same thing, we're putting whatever it is, putting EDPM like
There's
down.
a quote based on that.
With, yeah, so that gives them the parameters, stripping stone, doing this, putting down their particular rubber products, which may actually be the exact same product for all we know, because there's probably not a
Right.
million out there. But at least have a few numbers, and maybe it, I mean, I hate to say it, it could backfire. They could say, I can't do the project for less than 250. Point, then we're kind of bum out of luck. So they went ahead and put that thing together, the scope based on that information, based on our directive. Then we had led into all these other days where we couldn't actually meet.
Okay.
Which now leads us to more days we can't actually meet, so if it's, I guess, okay with the board, and or Matt, or John, or whoever, like, we go down and we look at it, just make sure that it's written up and balances out like the information that's in the other scope, and get it out to get some numbers to attach to it.
That's completely fine with me.
You know, I don't mind going down there, looking through it. Anybody
That way we
that
can
wants
get
to
it
come
up
can
by-
come
we
with
can
me.
get it up
This week, yeah.
Do you wanna pick a time where the three of us just meet and do that, or do you wanna just go
I
look
mean,
at
it's not
it?
gonna be long, it'll be a few minutes or whatever. It's
I'm
up,
pretty flexible, so.
you know, but let's just try to do it.
I mean, is it ready
Before
now
next
for us to look
Wednesday.
at tomorrow
Well, I can
morning?
go tomorrow morning and do it.
I could do that.
Is it ready there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just waiting for us to say go, and then we say go, and it goes.
Send it out.
Instead of
Send it
waiting
out
3 weeks to
Friday.
look at it and then say go. And that's my feeling.
That works, then you can get it out Friday.
So what time tomorrow, man? 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock?
8 o'clock's perfect.
8 o'clock, okay. 8 o'clock at the
I'll
SAU.
be late, I'll be 8:30.
8:30.
8:30.
8:30 at the
I
SAU.
had to drop the kid off at 8:30, so.
Bring her with us, she's a.
Yeah.
She can come, 8 o'clock, she'll come with me.
Okay.
She's
She'll
been
love
to
it.
meetings
8
there.
o'clock?
Yeah.
All right.
It's fine.
Mount will take
Potatoes on
notes.
the table.
That was a good time.
That was-
All right, does that work?
That's awesome, yep, works.
Now where are we?
Judy?
Okay, sorry. I just want to let you know that I did present to the state board involving the North Country Charter School, North Country Charter Academy, and also we presented to the Vermont superintendents, we went over to St. Johnsbury and presented to them, so because there are some students that have been coming over to the North Country Charter School, so that would benefit all the districts that are involved in the North Country, so that was one of the reasons why we did that one. Let's see, I did go to the state legislative meeting where they talked about all of the bills for the week. The main one that everyone talked about was the school choice, the SB 193. And that is still up in the air, although every time we get an update on that particular bill, there's something different in the bill. Whether it's, you know, they're gonna charge a percentage for homeschooling, or you have to have an assessment done before you can collect the money, and you have to be in a school district for 1 year prior to homeschooling in order to, you know, they have all of these different steps that they keep adding to the bills, so the bill's becoming different every time it goes through. So it's an interesting process. I did speak with Dr. Ladd, Carl Ladd from NHSAA regarding the assessment study that the board had wanted me to look into, and that's approximately $7,000 that they would want. My question to the board is there anything in particular, any pieces of information that they would want to go forward with, or questions they would want asked? And,
I mean, I had a couple comments on that. I believe that's a cheaper price than what the Hampshire School Board Association used to do it, wasn't it? Were they 10,000?
That was about, that was like, I can't remember, that was in 2010.
Either way, 7 isn't bad. John was the one that actually brought it up.
Okay.
I think he would, oh, sorry.
I was just saying, I think if one was done, the board would want to meet with them before they started to discuss the concerns, I would assume.
Probably cost us more, but that, I mean, it won't be,
I mean, that's just my thought.
right? I mean, I guess,
No, I think
it's-
I think there would certainly be an initial meeting.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, as part of something like that, there would,
right.
you know, multiple meetings.
Scope of the work.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and, you know, identify areas, that sort
I
of.
mean, in terms of infrastructure, I mean, John, you were talking about, you know, bodies in certain
Yeah, we have
positions.
the right bodies in
Do-
certain
Do we have
positions,
enough?
doing
Do we have
the
too
right
many? Are they
things.
in the right spots? I think if it's something the board wants to do, I think it's a good discussion to have at an upcoming board meeting on what we want it to actually look like. I think it was a good idea that John had, and I'm in favor of doing it.
I guess I would ask first for them, if this is something that they do, maybe get the parameters of what it is that they plan to do for that $7,000, and then we can amend it if we decide to move forward in any way that we see fit for our school
Right.
district. Instead of trying to create our own. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, I can
You know,
ask.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt, I'm sure they have some sort of template that
Mhm.
I
says,
mean, right.
we do X, 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 and all that sort of thing.
If we can get that, then at an upcoming board meeting, we can determine if there's something else we want. Yeah.
Can we go back to, does anybody have any more questions on that?
Nope.
the legislative preview. One of the bills that I saw, and it just triggered something else, was House Bill 1497, and it was about changing the definitions related to school performance and accountability, priority schools, cohesive support, yada, yada. The question I have is, we talked a few months back about the change in what the tool was gonna be for Smarter Balance, or whatever was gonna be. Has there been any decision made on what that test is?
Yes, it's called the New Hampshire Assessment, and that's all we know.
Catchy. Okay, so,
We
It's
have
code for
no-
we don't have a real name yet.
No, that's what it's called.
so when is that rolling out? Is that
And
rolling
that's
out
gonna be
this-
rolling out this spring.
Oh, so it's all in place and all that, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that was all, that just triggered that.
So
Just give me
rolling
one
out
second,
this
so I have
spring as
something
into
We're going
starting
to
the
be
fall,
doing-
or doing it this
No,
spring?
we're doing it this spring.
So
The
what
same
is,
grades?
Same grades. The two laws, the federal law and the state law, don't match, but we do have to follow the federal law, so we're gonna be doing grades 3 through 8 with this new state test, and then grade 11 will still be the College Board assessment.
do you know enough about the test to say that it currently
New Hampshire.
is gonna, so nothing? I was gonna ask, do we know anything about how much training staff will need before they implement it, or we don't know yet?
No, they haven't said anything.
Secret.
This-
I remember when Smarter Balance rolled out, that we could, as adults, we could go in and take it.
Mhm. Yes.
There was a portal
lot
or
of- we
something
had
like
2
that, where
years
we could
worth
go
of
and take it
training.
so that we knew what our kids were
Yeah,
gonna go
the
through.
the students had 2 years.
I think I got through one question, Vince.
You what?
One question.
You got through one question?
Was there any, I mean, there's a lot in this packet, and I have quite a few highlights, but was there anything other than the school choice? Was there anything else that has a lot of traction?
It's the one bill. One bill in here is already killed, which was good, that was 1452.
Right.
But then, there was 1802, but it's written differently here. And I know it doesn't affect education, it affects the tax money, and I know from town meeting, town hall, one of them, it's written differently, so I'm not sure if this is the same exact 1802, 1802-F1-L. But if it passed, that was 1.7 million to Lincoln taxpayers.
Yes, additional.
If Tammy could just, would you elaborate just
I
kind of
don't
for?
have any of it with me,
That
but
was
I
the
might
shift.
have it in my email.
18.
It was the one that said that the,
Statewide.
for cooperative school districts, is that the one?
No, that was the one I think
Okay.
that failed.
That's, yeah.
Oh,
because- yeah,
1802 is like the old donor,
Exactly.
Yeah,
the
donor
towns. So any excess
Yeah,
money that
that's
the
what it
towns have over and above,
Would
you know,
go-
that's raised through the state property tax would be sent back to the state to some fund.
The town of Lincoln would have to raise an
So
additional
it'd be donor
1.2
towns.
million.
Good to be, okay.
Yeah.
So now, but
So
now what
it's like
happens
all
is
that.
the town of Lincoln raises more money than the cost of an adequate education of a student, the students in Lincoln. So that money though stays in Lincoln.
Right.
Woodstock, on the other hand, doesn't raise enough, so they get a grant from the state. But if this were to pass, Lincoln would have to send that excess money to the state, which was the old donor towns,
Instead of it staying in.
instead of it
districts, so we
staying
have
here
to-
in town.
we have to give an additional 1.2.
Yeah.
And that one is back in study committee, so it's dead for this time.
Oh, it is.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So were there anything else that stood out that,
Those are the ones
just
that,
that was just that was?
the other one that they really focused in on, the superintendents are focusing in on that.
Okay.
Those two right there. Let's see.
Is that it, Judy?
No, I just wanted to update the board on that. We have Meg Thompson, who visits the school. She's a consultant, outside consultant, is being funded by Title I funds. She comes in once a week to the elementary school, and that's for culture and climate, and it works with the teachers and students with that. We also have another grant that is being implemented for our March professional development, and that will be on social emotional learning. And Meg Thompson's work with the climate and culture is going to be overlapping with the social emotional learning for students. So that seems to be where the state and the feds are going with the increased behavior of students. Also, ADAPT is starting the bullying training with, a bullying presentation and training with students and staff in the elementary before vacation, but they will also get into more of that after vacation as well. And all of this is, it's not separate entities, they're all related to one another, and it's all under PBIS, Positive Behavior and Intervention Strategies. So as soon as research comes out to the districts look at what grants are out there that can, so we can use and access the research and integrate it into the school. Tiger program is starting with the middle school next week and the elementary school on February 21st. Elementary, we are in the process of finding out if they can modify that presentation so that parents can be involved in that and be invited to that program. And that's Sean Quinn and Vicki Isles is working on that as well. The NWEA, which is your NWEA, the testing is just being completed. Elementary does it 3 times a year. They do it in the fall, they do it in January, February, and then they will do it in the spring. And the main assessments are done in the fall and the spring, which everyone does, but the elementary does it the 3 times, and the January, February mark is when they can look at the data and then change direction if they need to based on the scores that the students are getting. Right now, they have just finished, the elementary have just finished, I just think where I put it, what we call the, here it is. This is the Fontes in Pinnell, which is one of the assessments that the elementary does for the K through 5. NEWA testing is grades 3 through 5. And this is just color-coded. And this gives you an idea of where the students are now in the range of skills. Now, if you look at, for example, where it says letter K with the purple, that's all the purple blocks are where there's students in those blocks, okay? And so that's where they're at. When you look at the first grade, the pink, that is from letter C, goes all the way up to K. So that's the range of students learning. In second grade, the yellow, where you see the yellow, that's where all the kids are. That's a second grade level. That's how vast the range is.
So when you see a yellow block down by the K, that means that particular second grader is at just about the kindergarten level for
Correct.
whatever that is.
So it just gives you a picture of where the students are and what the teachers are working on. It's just not teaching second grade or just
Yeah.
not teaching third grade or whatever. It's teaching a myriad of levels. Third grade, the same thing. You know, there's a wide range. Fourth grade is a little bit closer in range and goes up in the other direction. And the fifth grade is more closer in range with some going in the upper direction. Usually your let's see if I say this politically, the supplemental programs that we have in place are usually for the students who are 2 years below grade level. So, but you're seeing all the students here.
So by looking at this game of Tetris really quickly, it would appear that some of the areas that, well, those might be fifth grade, sorry. So it looks like in the middle grades of the elementary school, there's some challenges there.
A lot of overlap.
Yeah, both ways, yeah.
Exactly. So when you see scores, the only thing with these types of scores is when you see state testing or whatever, the student, that's why you have to go into the individual student and see
Right.
their growth, because it may be growth for that student. They did a
Right.
great job.
I will tell you, when we talk about data, I am personally more interested in an individual child's growth than I am on the aggregate score of a
Right.
class. So third grade only moves X this way or this way,
We look
but
at the individual
for that
student.
individual student is their growth. I mean, I think that's what we should be most
That's right.
concerned with instead
And we
of-
see that.
I mean,
as-
you can say, oh geez, second grade,
Right, right.
But,
Well,
but
what-
if those kids are growing, even though they're
That's
not,
right.
there's growth there, then
That's right. I mean, as a whole, we will report on the big picture, but when we look at the NEWA scores individually, each classroom has an individual score in each one of those students, what the expected score is, what they score, and then they move forward with that. So there are,
So how often is this given? Is this just once a year?
no, that's given 3 times a year as well.
This is 3 times a year too? And this is the Fontes and Pinell?
This is Fontes
Yeah.
and Pinnell, yeah.
Okay.
It just gives you a picture, those visuals. Yeah, it is a good picture. And the NEWA, there's still some students who have not completed that, so we're still waiting for that. That test takes a little bit longer to complete. And we do have some board action items. We can do that in the.
Any other questions for Judy? Thanks, Judy. Scott?
Thanks. On January 25th, we had our students participate in Poetry Out Loud. It involved 2 sections. They had to do there was a wild card round. First they did it within classes. The kids who were advanced from the class round, they had a wild card round in which they had to speak in front of the student body in the gymnasium. Then after there was folks who picked from that went on and competed that night at Gene's Playhouse. We had Lauren Peck as our winner. She's the first kid to win it through the wild card round, and she also has swept our speaking competitions this year, and she also won the Rotary Speech Contest. Friday, the FBLA, as part of FBLA Week, is doing a food drive. This Friday is our senior night for where we'll be honoring our varsity senior athletes for skiing, girls basketball, and boys basketball, and your admission to get into the game is a non-perishable food item to be going to FBLA, and they're going to be donating that to the Linwood Food Pantry. We are wrapping up our winter sports season. Middle school ski team finishes up tomorrow. Middle school girls and boys basketball finished up last week. Varsity girls basketball finishes up on Friday. And in our state ski meets on Monday and Tuesday, both our boys and girls finished third at the state ski meet. Great effort by all of those individuals. The elementary, we have the annual basketball tournament that's going to be happening on Sunday. The Linwood Booster Club. That is going to be for grades 3 through 5. I think we have a few people here who coach that. Matt, do you do that? You coach that?
Well, I don't know if I call it coaching, but
You're
yes,
there?
I'm in charge.
You're in charge? Okay. So if you want to watch,
I'll be there.
at the very least, if you want to watch Matt and his best, it's a good time on Sunday.
I do my best, Scott.
Okay. I'll look forward to that. That is from 8:30 to about 5 o'clock by the Booster Club. We also, for K through 2 students, they are going to be heading over to a jamboree in Lisbon on Saturday.
What grades is that?
That would be K through 2. So K through 2 students going to do jamboree on Saturday, 3 through 5 here on Sunday. We have our middle school students have also completed the winter NEWA map testing, and we have Spirit Week coming up next week for the high school. One last thing, just I want to pass out and have for the board to take a look at is that I know back in October we had a conversation around policy GEA, or JE, when we talked about the rehiring of coaches. As we're getting towards the end of the winter season, we're just passing around some materials we put together. Deb, Judy, myself, Tony was part of the conversation. We were talking about just some paperwork and filing we want to use to move together with the reappointment of coaches. There's 4 parts that we want to be able to use and move forward with. The first sheet is just simply what Deb would have, what they would have at the SAU office for filing as far as is the person accepting the position or not. The second part is more of a coach's evaluation that would have a discussion where they would self-evaluate and also get some feedback from the athletic director. The third page is a season review in which that would be given to student athletes and questions for them to elicit feedback for them to get their input. And the fourth page is a general sheet that would be at the SAU office in which they would have a listing of who's going to be returning, who coached what, who's returning, So there's more of a filing for the SEU office as well. So I know there was some discussion about that back in October, and I know we mentioned that we were gonna be working on that, so I wanted to bring you at least a finished product, or at the very least a product that we felt that we wanna kind of move forward with, have people at least have the opportunity to take a look at. Questions?
Do you, the season review form?
Yep.
Is for players to fill out?
Yes, correct. And I tried to keep the questions to be open-ended and like more like describe how does this happen, what do you say with this, but also, you know, keeping it that and positive and hitting a range of things like what was communication like with, you know, the coaches, what was communication like with the teammates, and also in trying to get some information, but also keeping it as broad as possible.
Does the first sheet come at the end? Or does the first sheet
Yeah,
come at
first
the
sheet
front?
at the end.
Yeah, I guess the first sheet will come at the end.
Okay.
So this is what we would give to.
Take all this stuff first.
Yep. So we're down and say, hey, Brian, we want you to come
This is
back.
where we're sitting
Are
down.
you saying yes or no? And you say yes or no. You check it, and I give this over to Mr. O'Connor.
Have you ever, and you can, I mean, this is great. Yeah, I think you can do it how you want. It looks good. There's a lot of stuff here. Have you ever thought about a small scoring section that kids do also? That way there it's, sometimes kids don't always write their thoughts.
Mm.
And sometimes thoughts aren't always, not that you're grading I mean, I guess you're evaluating a coach. Sometimes your players' thoughts aren't really gradable. You can't evaluate it because
Yeah.
there's nothing attached to it with any
And
value.
I know I think part of it in the thought process, like, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think the current form has Tony told me, was it always, sometimes, and never?
Right.
Are the three categories they
Yeah.
can choose from?
So there was a form used in the past,
Mm.
that hasn't been used as much lately, and that's what it was. It asked these 10 or so questions that were very, very specific, and then as the choices, it just gave you, like you said, always,
Yeah, right.
sometimes, never.
Right.
Which, you know, probably wasn't the best way, to
Right.
hit the grades that you want. I kind of see what you're saying, probably having a scoring of
Mhm.
1 through 5,
Well,
1 through
I'm
10.
just
or-
thinking, I'm thinking that only in addition to that, because, like, as a parent, when my kids get report cards,
Yeah.
although the grades are important, I really take a lot of stock in the teacher's comments.
Sure.
So I think the comment page is great, but I also know some kids might not put comments on everything. They
That's
might
fair.
leave it blank, so I think as administrators, you should probably take greater stock in the comments and the scores anyway, but for the kids who aren't going to write comments,
At least have something in there.
yeah.
Okay.
Just an idea, and you don't have to, but.
Yeah.
Just 1 through 5 on those questions.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you from my point of view, having sat in the coach's seat
Yep.
and gone over these, I felt like the score ones didn't do me much
Right.
as far as feedback as a coach in areas that
But did you ever get, I'm sorry, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, whereas, I mean, and it had, 10 questions that you scored, and then there were 3 questions at the bottom were more like this. And I felt like I got a whole lot more wealth of information
I agree.
from
Yeah.
that. When you look at the scores, and I guess on the flip side, that's like,
But did you ever get, like, there must have been sheets where there just were no comments.
yeah. And there's also, not everybody's filling them out. So you're
Right.
kind of working with what you have there. But then somebody could just say, I'm just going to circle all 5s if I don't really know. We do the
Right.
same thing with some of the surveys we have, where
Right.
we're doing a superintendent's evaluation. We're like, well, I'm not sure if this question really applies. Do I put a 5? Do I put a 3? Do I leave it blank?
Right.
I like this. I'm not saying to rule that out. I kind of envisioned a combination of the two. But I think this is going to get more from the kids as far as really
Okay.
their feel. And one of the things I said when we met was the old form said, coach's evaluation. You hand that to a kid and say, evaluate your coach. But what I said it should really focus on is self-evaluating their experience of that athletic endeavor, rather than just saying, oh, the coach did this, the coach did that. You can glean what kind of job the coach is doing from asking questions about their experience. And I think these questions this is my first time seeing them. I think most of them are pretty on point. As Scott said, this was brought up back in the fall. And that's, I remember Judy mentioned at a meeting in November that they were working on cleaning up this process, just so we have a concrete evaluation process. And I think there should be, when it comes to rehiring, retaining, releasing, there should be a little more scrutiny there. And obviously I say that from a personal standpoint, I'm gonna be under more scrutiny and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'd rather read comments about what I did not do to help those students, athletes along so I can improve upon. You know, I'm not expecting everything to come over all flowery.
Right.
But I think that it's important to give the kids a voice in it. And I think what happened in this fall where we had some, you know, a coach not rehired, you know, different things went on and how it was perceived in the public and whether it happens this way or doesn't happen this way, but the perception, not just with that, but in the past is like, okay, we rubber stamp some coaches, or some people might have that perception, or we're getting rid of coaches on a whim. And I think it's just like teacher evaluations. You know, if you have a teacher who is not a strong teacher, you gotta have something to back that up. And the same with a coach. So the only thing I wanna add as far as this, or ask a question, one of the things I said as far as the season review to give to the student athletes, how are we disseminating that? Because, you know, in the past, in seasons they weren't filled out, where they were just sent to teachers, please hand these out to the student athletes in your homeroom. I think that going digital is the best way to do it.
I agree, yeah.
You know, and I said, you know, this is completely anonymous. And anytime I've done a survey for my team, I've left it optional whether people want to put their name on it and own it, or they want it to be anonymous. But it's a lot easier to look at a computer screen and have complete anonymity than it is, you know, you might recognize somebody's handwriting.
How do we distribute some of these in
I
a
have
different
not
version this year?
I have not distributed these as of yet.
But we've done-
the evaluation, the coach's evaluation form is a paper copy.
Yeah.
Um,
Did we use that one this year?
Yeah, so I would say that for these, like, you know, having it online, with every kid having a Google account, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Pretty easy and have it.
I see the paper thing, and I don't know where the breakdown was, the last 2 seasons I coached, I never saw any of them. And a lot of kids told me they never got them. And I've done surveys, you know, just on SurveyMonkey, or you could do it on Google, where I ask kids about stuff about preseason or postseason, and I get them back in 5 minutes, because they get it in their email, they get it on their phone, and they can just click, 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 write the stuff that they want to
Yeah.
write,
Right.
get comments that way, you know, get them at 2 in the morning on a school night and go, why is this kid
So
still
why
up?
are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. But I think at the very minimum, I think this will at least, you know, I try to put something together that will at least drive the conversation and have some. You don't want to get into the situation again where you're going, well, it's this. We think it's this. We think it's that. You know, you want to have, this was the conversation we had. Here was the feedback we had. You know, and I think even the self-eval part, there was space for comments that the coach could put down. There's space for comments that the evaluator could put down. You know, there was a little bit of emphasis on sportsmanship. So there's a couple different things that I you know, there's some commenting areas that they can have, but also I think the scale as well. So.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, I say, I like it. I think that it's definitely a big step in the right direction to have a true evaluation process. And I can't emphasize enough, you know, as a coach, you know, you go through your season, you think everything was hunky-dory, or you knew where there were some things, areas you struggled, and then to hear from the kids, to look at it and go, okay, this is where I need to improve upon for next year. You know, and that's what we should, as coaches, should be doing.
You want that
Just looking.
information.
Yeah.
And this format, rather than grading or scaling, I think, like you're saying, encourages kids to reflect on their season, reflect on their experience, and participate in the future of the sport and the athletic department.
Mm.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Committee reports before we get to policy. Ryan, you had some transportation?
Yeah, we sat down last week.
Last week.
Yeah, last Wednesday, actually, ski day. Discussed that one of the buses is pretty much done, won't pass. The thought was, amongst us, me, John, that we should get a van. We thought that would be a better idea. John, then he's in the process of like using his connections to sort out, maybe find a few options of different vans. We get an actual new van, you know, something. And like Scott's example was even that day before that, they had one kid that needed to go to like Plymouth, instead of like loading up a bus, you could actually just use the van. And, you know, outside of school time, you could just drive the van.
What size? We were looking into.
Under
It has to be less
Ten
I
than,
or-
remember
10 or
4 or 5 years ago.
Has to be less than-
There was insurance
Less than 10.
issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we gotta say less than 10 passengers. So
Is that what, okay.
Yeah.
I just remember, something happened before, and there was some insurance issues.
yeah.
But we were looking at a minivan, because it could be used for other things.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta run
No,
the
I got you.
store, you
Yeah.
gotta go to
Professional
concert.
development,
Yeah.
taking
Yeah,
kids to
exactly.
scholar athletes.
Scholar athletes on that.
Is there a big difference insurance-wise between 10 passenger and say 14
can't go over.
passenger?
We can't be
Can't do it.
Can't go
14,
over.
15 passenger. I mean, it's not legal for a school.
But the
Primex
to
just-
drive a
yeah,
bus or
they
a
don't
vehicle
it, I
like
guess.
that.
I don't know.
Okay.
the
Yeah.
price
It's a
difference
federal
is-
law too. It's a
Federal.
federal law, it's a state
Okay.
law.
I
The
was
rules
thinking
say
about
we
the
can't
one-
have a 15 passenger.
The one that Adapt has is very, very nice.
Yeah,
and that was
we
like
can't.
14.
No, so this would
Yeah.
sound like a small Sprinter style van
Yeah.
or something that we were thinking about, you know, that can get use and probably come in at
Because we're
half the
taking
cost
one
of a school
kid
bus.
sometimes to Woodsville, or one kid to Plymouth, or one kid to Littleton.
So it's like half the price.
Crazy to run that big
For a new
bus.
one.
And the maintenance.
Yeah.
You know,
It's a lot
I
less.
mean, but I mean, thinking like, you know, from a cost standpoint, like, you know, we had our cross-country team this year, which is 2 kids.
Yeah.
And if they went to a meet, you got on a bus,
Yes.
you know, with 2
so
kids
you'd
and
be
a
able
coach.
to utilize this for
Yeah.
those types of things, taking away costs that. we're
And the
getting
buses,
another
how much
cost.
is a bus, like 50,000-60,000, I
Yeah,
think?
at least, yeah.
60?
Yeah.
I remember when me and Mike looked at it, we were saying, I mean, we could buy a Chevy Express, like over to the town building, and a minivan, and still have money left.
So it's like big money for the bus and for us, less use. So we would recommend that we go for looking at getting the van.
By next meeting, I'll have some
The
numbers.
part with getting the van is we have to get rid of the bus, so
Yeah.
we're recommending.
John to buy it.
We're
Yeah,
recommending.
you said that too,
That
yeah.
John buys the bus. That the bus, if we can direct them to put
We
it,
need to put it out to bid.
put it out to bid. It's out to auction, send it out
Auction.
to be shot.
Can I ask a question yet, or do I have to wait? Why don't you use the town's van?
We can't.
Can't.
Yes,
They
you
claim
can.
they
No, we
can.
We
can't.
had this conversation the other day.
We've checked with our insurance company. We cannot.
We checked with our insurance company. And
We're
our
the same
insurance-
insurance company, Primex.
Exactly.
And they told us we cannot, and I have the flyer, or the sheet in my office.
They told us that all we had, to do- all the school had to do was add
A rider?
the rider for the, so the town, that vehicle will be additionally insured.
No.
Can we,
To transport students on a regular basis, we cannot.
That's funny that
Maybe
they
a
told you
one-off
that thing, they
thing.
told us the other. Because I asked the same question, and we asked Primex,
Yeah.
and Primex told us verbally when they were in the building, I don't have it on paper, but I could get it on paper, that all the school would have to do is add the town as additional insured, so that your employees would be covered on the van that sits there all winter, does nothing.
Yeah. No, we've checked on that.
I think we should take the,
sound good. I'm done.
let's just,
What do you think we should do, Vance?
no, you wanna auction off.
I want to auction off the
Auction the
bus,
bus.
so that we can go forward then with buying a van. So as soon as we get rid of the bus,
We get a
the
van.
sooner we can buy a van.
So we need to get the two
So the
Primex
current
people
bus
in the
isn't-
same room.
It won't pass inspection.
Right.
It is not inspected.
Too much to,
It is the cost to bring it back up to inspection.
bus is
about-
that?
it's more than what we paid for it.
It's more than what we paid for.
So when we got a couple years ago from Robertson,
Yeah.
when our other bus died, and we were
Okay.
paying over $1,000 a month to rent,
To
we bought
rent.
it for $4,000 to get us through the end of
Yeah.
the year, and
Okay.
it lasted a couple of years, and,
4,000.
Yeah.
but,
It's a good,
Better money.
it's a good idea. A good purchase then.
Can we get a letter from Primex, Deb? And I'm not calling you a li, you know.
oh, I have it in my office.
Okay, can I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
see
you
it?
can see it
I'm
tomorrow,
not calling you
yeah.
later, let's get it.
I
Well, I'd like to see it, I just,
think
I
it's
just,
exactly.
I wanna see what it says. I
Say
would've
we
said
can't
what
hold
she
them
said
aloft,
first.
I'll bring in a locker.
Yes, Deb, can I please see
Yeah,
that
and you
letter?
can also call the state of New Hampshire Transportation. I forget the name of the officer, but.
So, before we make a motion, does that sound like something everyone's in favor of?
Is everybody
doing?
okay with that?
Okay.
Yes.
All right, then I'll accept a motion to put the current used uninspectable bus we purchased from Robertson several years ago out to bid, out to auction.
I'll make the motion.
I will second the motion.
Thanks, Brian. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Before we get to policy, any other committees?
Risk management met yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, our last risk management meeting, we met with someone from Primex.
Primex.
Kind of gave us better direction of what risk management should be focusing on, you know, more hazardous, trip, slip, fall, some people like to say. So we did our tour of this building at this meeting, and we didn't find anything really awry. I would say, towards the end of the tour, we noticed as we peeked in classrooms, there were some items on a heater, which we've had an issue with before. So we looked, and that was present in a few classrooms. So we asked the administrator present to please send out a reminder to everybody. It wasn't items like gloves and stuff to set the fire before, but just basket or papers or what have you. So we wanted to make sure we were following that. And I think the one subject that came up that I want to make note of, because it was mentioned by a couple different people on the risk management team, not me this time, was the status of the elementary gym floor. And I brought this up a couple board meetings back, a couple months ago, that should really move up the priority list of the facilities committee to be looking at. As we talked about, a little bit of carpet on top of concrete, it's a major safety hazard, and we had a major concussion issue last year. And looking into, charging Mark or whoever the administration to look at different types of flooring to be used in there, and what would be the best use, and let's maybe speak with the PE teachers too.
And not all that carpet is secure to the.
It's not, no, and that's why it came up the first time, was that pieces are missing, and,
Yeah.
that there are trip hazards on it.
There's pieces that are loose.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the original.
yeah, I think it kind of fell off the radar, and I didn't bring it up in enough time this year for us to get on warrant. And I think there was some disappointment, some people on the risk management committee, that it wasn't being done this year. So I think that's something we really need to highlight.
This was the year too. Jeez.
Yeah.
No changes now?
All right, so policy, we have, last school board meeting, these were in first reading, and there's a lot of them. Did anybody, we didn't really have any changes that you guys wanted first time around, so this is the last shot. Did anyone have any questions or additions they wanted made to these? Otherwise, we can pass them.
No, I'll make a motion to approve policies GCB, GCF, GCID, GCK, GCM, GCNA, GCP, GCQC, GCQE, GCR, GCRC, GCRD, as written.
Thanks, Matt. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Hopefully those are the right acronyms.
Got them.
Those
Yeah.
tongue twisters at the end.
You had some forward action, Judy?
Yes, we do have a, Sarah Kraus is requesting maternity leave, so we'll be looking for a long-term sub.
What's she teach?
I'll make a motion to approve the maternity leave of Sarah Kraus with congratulations.
Thanks, Matt. We get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Anything else?
No, that's it for that.
Okay, great.
Sit in my house.
Under new business, we have support staff.
That was just the budget thing.
Well,
That was under there for the budget.
Yeah, we had that on the agenda last time, and it was.
Oh, you know what, we have
under.
to-
I think we've kind of talked about it a lot tonight, but can I still make some
We get to,
comments?
we can do that on continuing.
Oh,
We're gonna have to vote,
yeah, when we get to the budget,
right,
yeah.
okay.
But we put this information in your packet the last time. and
Schedules.
The schedules, and I don't know if you brought them, or, we just, and then the benefits, the part that Matt was talking about tonight, and I just a couple things. When I'd like to put wages on the school board agenda each fall, because we get to the budget and start to put it together.
Yeah, I think
It's-
it's kind of late in the game.
It's too late.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if we could put that as an agenda item, say, in October every year, so we can have this discussion instead of the
That
way
makes
it went.
sense.
So and we were gonna kind of highlight some things on here. Just a little bit of history, I guess, because the school board, in the past, there was a subcommittee that would look at the area wages and benefits for support staff. It was usually the negotiations team, and we would collect this information every 2 or 3 years, and they would sit and set the salaries, a starting wage base, as you see on that salary schedule in the budget. And as someone said, I mean, yes, there's different categories, and they set those, and maybe it's time to relook at those, but you do definitely see some patterns, again, in each of the positions. And if you were to rank and order of pay rates, you can see trends again across the districts that are pretty consistent as far as how, if you look at those averages and how they're ranked across the districts. So anyway, we have the information for the different school districts, not only in the North Country, but Plymouth, Campton, Thornton, the ones around us, for the current year and from what we could gather for next year. Again, so you see our starting rates, again, based on experience and education for some of them. And then the averages, you'll see the averages. So you can see where we stand in that. Again, it's just something to continue the conversation. As I would say, it's nice to have some guidelines, when we're hiring people. That's why we've always had a starting salary, but the administration will look at experience and education. The administration also looks at job descriptions that we have for each of the different positions, because the responsibilities are different. How you rank those, I don't know, that's a struggle. And again, like I mentioned too, I mean, if you're going to look at any substantial, we've looked at the minimum wage going up, so we have bumped up our starting wages over the last couple of years. If you look in your budget binders, whether it's $1 or 50 cents or whatever, because we know that minimum wage is going up. We don't want to be having that huge increase that 1 year, so start to phase things in. So if we want to be at $15 an hour, maybe not next year, but in 2 years, let's, just some things, food for thought. The third page in is the compensation, is the health insurance, because it's part of the whole compensation package, and it is very interesting to see. So you can go online and get a lot of these districts, their information's online in their contracts, if they have a contract. Our health insurance is, for support staff, is part of policy GDBR. So you guys should probably look at that every year if you want to make changes, and I've attached that policy, but you'll see, so we pay up to 82% of a two-person plan. So if an employee wants a family plan, they have to pay that difference. And it is pretty costly for anyone working over 30 hours a week. It's interesting to see some of the districts. So Bethlehem pays 80% of their base, whatever their base plan, single, two-person, or family, with the exception of paras and food service. So anyone who's a para or food service in Bethlehem only gets a single plan of 80%. And then they have to pay the difference if they want a two-person or family. Campton, they pay for their year-round support staff. So we have some year-round support staff, and then we have school year, what we consider school year support staff. So for their year-round, they pay 100% of single, two-person, and family. But for their school year support staff, they pay 90% of a single up to $1 cap. So if they want two-person or family, they pay that difference. So it's interesting to see. Some of them group it by, their contract length, annual or year-round, but they're all over the place. So, but it is a very big piece of our compensation package when we're looking at wages and benefits. So it is pretty important. So, again, just the last time there was a major change done too with the support staff. The school board at the time not only reset the wages, they put in some new things in that policy GDBR. So they had put in, and again, it was based on some requests from the support staff. They met with the support staff. And they put in number 9, life insurance. So there was life insurance added into support staff benefits, number 9 in that policy. Number 10, the retirement. There was also a retirement stipend added for support staff. So after 15 years of service, if a support staff retired, they would get $3,000 stipend, or after 25 years, a $5,000 stipend. So they added that in. They also added in some holidays. The year-round staff has received holidays all along since the policy started, but they added in holidays for the school year staff. So after is it 5 years of service, you get 3 of the holidays listed, and if after 10 years, you'd get 6 of the holidays listed, because they're not here all year round to have all the holidays, because they're not working when some of them. So anyway, so that's just some of the things that have been added to this policy when they've looked at that. Just to add to,
Yeah, it's good information.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it'd be interesting to know what our range of actual pay is right now without knowing people's names.
Yeah,
you
we
know,
can give
you
you
know,
that.
for these
I mean, it's in the
positions,
budget
because
binder,
we
but-
have some
yeah.
decisions to make. I mean, obviously, the budget committee said they're handing us a tool
Mhm.
and have made some suggestions. But it'd be nice to see, you know, kind of where we actually are, because this is all starting rate, right?
This is starting rates again,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
Which we
good,
fall in line with,
huh?
which we fall in line with.
Definitely, yeah.
Same with benefits.
Yeah, I mean, you'd look at any other district, they're gonna be all over the place, because people.
I'm not saying they're not all low,
Yeah.
they're all low,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, they
But-
all are.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right.
But I'm just, you know, and we don't have to, just because everybody else is doing it, doesn't mean it's right.
Right, yeah.
So we can still make some changes, but it might help guide us in exactly how we wanna go, and where we wanna go with everything,
Yeah.
if we decide to change it a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, just because in the budget hearing, from a budget committee member said that, you know, some of these towns, using these towns as comparables shouldn't apply. I think geography is the last thing we should be worrying about. When I look at a lot of these towns, they share the same socioeconomic challenges we do, and in some cases, even stronger ones than we do.
Yep.
You know, so it's a good comparison to look at what certain schools are paying,
Yeah.
regardless of what side of the notch they're on.
Well, I think that's where we're gonna get our employees from too. If we can get them to drive over the notch or drive over the gank, that's, you don't have them all living here.
Right.
So you gotta reach out and be fighting within that driving distance.
Or some of ours will drive over the notch.
That's
to
what I
get
mean.
to the-
Yeah, so you gotta, like, we
yeah.
gotta fight from the
Right.
center here and everywhere in driving distance, we gotta make it worthwhile for them to drive over here.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah, we're good?
Good.
Get it up, we'll start. Don't anybody start.
School calendar. So there are two copies. One is the current year's one. The one that says draft is the proposed by administration for next year. Looks very similar. Starting school the last week of August. All the bells and whistles for each holiday. Vacation weeks seem to be the same weeks. So I would be in favor of voting to support this unless someone has any.
There was one, just if you want to, we had gotten input from the association.
Yep.
And on your January 18th, they had suggested adding, having some time to do a semester change. That's where the semester would end. The first half of the year ends January 18th.
Okay.
And they would like some time to work on curriculum and planning for their next set of courses that they're teaching from January to June. So we did put in a half a day on the 18th, on January
Yeah.
18th.
It's a half a day for students.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm fine with that.
I'll make a motion to.
Well, I just have a question before we move forward, because there is one change, different from the last probably 4 or 5 years, where we're now gonna start with a 4-day week in August instead of a 3-day week.
Right.
And,
That's my next thing.
you know, our summer is like 12 days long, you know, so those days in August are kind of like gold. I'm not completely opposed to it. I didn't know if there was, the rationale to change that was just because of the way the calendar fell. You know, do we talk about adding a day in June? I guess the other thing is this, is we've kind of gotten to this pattern of starting the school year with 3-day week, 4-day week, 5-day week. And it kind of lets everybody kind of ease into it a little bit better. I don't know if there's been any ask for teacher input, whether that's a good thing or whether they feel that's detrimental. They'd rather just start with a 4-day week.
So are you talking about having like the 27th?
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that, once, we never used to start before Labor Day. And then once we started doing that, it became a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday thing. So then it went into a 4-day weekend, into a 4-day week. So it's probably been 4, 5, 6 years that we've been starting on that Tuesday. So the current calendar has us starting on a Monday. I don't have any preference one way or the other, really. I don't know if,
Just adds that extra day in June.
Just adds the extra.
yeah, it moves the end of school from a Wednesday to a Thursday. And, that might work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if we do that, principal might not be able to call as many snow days, but.
I know. Sit down.
I don't know, I don't know if we wanna, I don't know if we wanna get teacher input as far as whether they like the 3-day week or they'd rather have 4. Cause I can see different opinions to it, right? Where they say 3, we're not really getting into what we need to get into, and at 3, the focus isn't there. And then they have the flip side.
Oh, sorry.
And then they have the flip side of that where they say, I kinda like, coming off just kind of 9 weeks off of having that 3 days and, I'm gonna ask Rebecca.
Yeah, well, I know you're not gonna speak.
You have to
all
speak
the-
for everybody.
I
all
know,
the
I'm
teachers,
gonna speak for the
But
entire
I'm
staff.
sure you guys talk about it.
I don't know why we go back before Labor Day, to be honest.
Yeah.
Before
Well-
Labor Day, but, you're saying, he's talking about going back
We
and
did.
having 4
We did-
days
you're
of
right, we
work
never
after you've had
used
2
to,
months
Tony.
off. I think you had enough time to rest up and get ready to work a 4-day week. Let's be honest, I'm not asking
Right,
you to
4 day
work
weeks
70
after
hours.
Labor Day.
I think a lot of it is the kids easing back in too, but.
Yeah.
So other than going after Labor Day, so is there any general consensus on whether a 3 or a 4-day week?
I don't know if that I've heard, a difference if it was a 3 or 4 day. I guess, speaking for myself and some others that I've spoken to, it just kind of feels like you're spinning tires for a few days.
Yeah.
Because you're,
Can't really get into any, yeah.
Because it is 3 days, and it is before Labor Day, so we're gonna have a 4-day weekend,
Yeah.
right after that. So, I don't know, it gets a few days out of the way, but I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it goes both ways. I think there's teachers that will jump right in and then,
Yeah, just to backtrack a little bit, as far as the history of why we started before Labor Day, was because we couldn't give, people on the school board might have had small businesses and they didn't want to give up their workforce by starting before Labor Day. And I think kind of the compromise is why we went with the 3-day week, was that, a lot of schools in Massachusetts are going back well before Labor Day. So maybe the tourist industry isn't as strong
Yeah.
on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as it would be on the Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah.
That was part of the rationale put in.
That makes, yeah.
I think it was one year, there was a year that Labor Day, if we went after Labor Day, it would have been really late, like Labor Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when
I
it
think
first
that's-
changed.
Right,
And then
and
it
then
just
it
kind of
just kind of
stuck with
stayed
it.
after, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was glad to believe it was.
The only other input that they gave was the fact that they wanted they were looking at 3 days at the beginning of the year for the in-service days,
Hmm.
rather than the 4.
Done before, yeah.
And with the amount of information that we just heard a couple weeks ago, then we're gonna need the 4 days for training. So we just kept it at the 4. Because one of the 4 days is, the teachers have for working in the classroom. So, if we have 4 days, and 3 days of training, and then 1 day of them working in the classroom. If it's 3 days, then it's 2 days of training and 1 working in the classroom. So that was the only other input that they gave.
You get out earlier.
I'm fine with the way it is. If someone really thinks,
Rally those teachers if they don't like it, and bring them in next one.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Linwood Public School 2018-2019 calendar amended with a half-day for students on the 18th of January.
thanks, Matt, can we get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jasmine. All in favor, aye?
Further discussion.
Further discussion?
Before I vote, is there a deadline that we need to be approving this calendar?
March something.
Yeah, last year we did it around this time. People start asking,
Yeah,
we also, again, working with the North Country schools, because we have kids that go up there, so
Yeah.
we're just trying to align with their.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm just
too,
curious,
but-
because it would take 5 minutes to get teacher input, but, so, the motion's
For
made, we'll
that
vote.
day, yeah. We can wait
I
till
mean,
March
I
seventh.
the motion's, the motion's on the table,
Vote on
we have to
March
vote. I'm okay voting no.
Well, we just table.
And then-
table it.
put it out to the union or staff.
Again? Okay.
Maybe
Put it
You
For
on.
that
already
one
put it out
day.
to them?
This is.
So their
I already got
feedback
them.
was the half day,
The feedback was time needed for the January,
so you have their,
and, yeah, and then they looked at
4
the
days
4
in
days of professional development at the beginning.
At the beginning.
They didn't talk about the teachers'
Okay.
days. That
So
was
they,
mentioned.
so that wasn't a concern for them.
No, I didn't bring it up for them, I mean, if you want.
They saw the
but, well,
calendar.
it's not your role to make sure that
Right.
they've talked to every teacher either,
Right.
so if they're
Right.
speaking for the teachers,
Mhm.
then that's what they've asked for, right? So, I don't think, well, let's just vote then.
Then, I mean, if they're okay with it, I am.
Mhm.
They've actually seen the whole calendar
We
as
gave them
presented.
the whole calendar.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, so the motion's on the table. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? Bullying. I just wanted to, because of recent events, I just wanted to make sure on the agenda, we had a discussion, and the board giving administration some direction on, there's not a lot the board can control, but we did have some discussion several weeks ago about avenues we want administration to take. Just wanted to make a note of that and make sure that, you know, that's gonna happen.
Right.
I noticed you put Tiger Theater in here. That's a pretty good assembly that comes every couple of years.
Right, right.
I know she put Lynn Tilden with ADAPT.
And we are looking at other things out there, because that was one of the other things you mentioned, was bringing in not just one or two.
Right.
You know, between now and the end of the year.
So one of the big
starting
things
with-
that we had talked about as a board was not just increasing bullying assemblies or workshops for students, but when age appropriate, when appropriate, inviting parents to those in-school assemblies also. Someone had mentioned having some evening workshops, or I don't want to call them training sessions, but awareness
Mhm.
nights, so that parents could come as adults and learn about bullying and their avenues to direct their kids on how to handle it, their avenues as parents, you know, how do they approach it with administration, have family, you know, evening events that are surrounded by it. I think someone, I can't remember who said it, someone said there'd be a lot of value in it not always being staff. Just getting it
Bring an outside source,
outside
resources.
organizations.
Right,
So
right.
that
Mhm.
it's, I mean, I know Tiger Theater is, but
Mhm.
we focus on the kids. I think we should get more stuff for the kids, but we should have some training and education for families too. And they can't all make it during the school day.
Right, right.
I also think the social worker and the school psychologist are two positions that, you know, we've authorized you guys to advertise for, and those should help greatly also.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone-
I think taking the track or the avenue that a combination of small group work
Mhm.
and then larger, it would probably be the most beneficial.
I know it's been quite a while since we had discussions. I don't know if anyone had any other,
Do the police departments offer anything?
No, they haven't.
Bringing the police chiefs in or getting them aware?
I mean, the police department had that.
I understand it.
They sponsored an outside organization to come in.
Yeah.
I suppose if you reach out to them, they could probably,
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily have to be local police, it could be
I'm sure they have.
local sheriff's department, you know, there's gotta be state police-wide programs too. But I think today's day and age, anything extra we can do is gonna be appreciated by all parties.
The other thing I didn't mention was, I mentioned it before, but just to remind the board, is that Kindness Matters is another program that's integrated within the school. And students do that, and that's the fifth graders, working with the younger grades and whatnot. So that's something that's beginning to be integrated, so it comes up every day, you know, it comes up every week, and so.
Okay. Student data, we did that. Budget, as a board, we need to vote to support or not to support the current budget adopted tonight by the budget committee. Before we do that, any discussion?
I think like Matt, it would have been nice to know that Next year, you can open up the conversation, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, the voters will decide. I'm not gonna vote no on those raises. I think they're needed. But like many of us said,
Well, we're voting on a number,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
so,
What's the actual number? Because I asked JJ and I wrote it down, and then the number they voted on was several $100,000 higher.
Well, because
you have to put it
looking
in
at
the
Article
grant.
6, so do you have your spreadsheet
Yes.
that we passed out tonight?
It was 7.
So so the school board original number was 7,847,419
Yeah.
in that warrant article, which includes the 7,426
So
the
what-
general fund and then your special funds.
So what is their new number?
So their new number, if you go over far to the right there, 7,860,619, which is $13,200 higher than,
7,008,619.
619.
7,860,619.
yeah,
is that Article 6?
Article 6.
I'll make a motion to approve Article 6 with the amount of $860,619. I just said that really bad. You know what I mean.
$7,860,619. Gotcha.
I did much better with the policies.
Thanks, Matt. Second?
Second.
Thanks, Tony. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Ms. Steves, you're up.
Ooh, all right. From Barb Verho. Nice, I'm sitting at her desk while I read this. Last Saturday, the high school chorus attended the Solo and Ensemble Festival at UNH in Durham, where they performed 2 pieces for a judge. In addition, students performed 3 duets and 10 solos. It was a fantastic morning spent with the UNH voice professor who rated each performance and worked with each student on various skills. While we don't wait around for the scores, the judges' feedback was great and we are very pleased with our performances. On another note, the Music in Our Schools Month concerts, which were originally scheduled for March 21st, have been rescheduled to Tuesday, March 27th due to a conflict with SAT testing. There will be performances at 1 o'clock and 7. From Lynn, Tilden, and Adapt, an after-school activities club is now offered to all middle school students on Thursdays from 2:30 to 4. Some of the activities are sleighing, custom pottery painting, nature walks, and swimming. And last month, the high school YLTA students participated in an overnight called 4 Walls for All, which is an event where students stayed outside in cardboard boxes to raise awareness about the growing numbers of homelessness in the nation. The club raised over $250 in donations for the Bridge House, a local homeless shelter in Plymouth, New Hampshire. And also from Lynn, this week is Respect Week with a collaboration from Laura McGinley's high school health class and the high school YLTA club. They're shedding light on what positive relationships are, as well as hosting daily activities during lunch. And from Paula Hood, the Elementary Invention Convention is next Thursday, February 22nd. 9 inventors from grades 3 to 5 will be sharing 7 inventions. Student and staff viewing is from 8 to 9:30. Judging will take place in the afternoon, and community viewing will be from 5:15 to 5:30, followed by the presentation of awards. We have a small but excited group. Feel free to stop by and check things out if you have a chance.
Thank you.
Community, any comments or questions?
Go ahead, you first.
Joe?
I just wanted to ask something to facilities. In the bid that was put out, did that include anything with the roof monitoring or the snow load monitoring or the beam welding? Because in the bid, it didn't say anything about it. You know? Just curious.
For what we're trying to get money for? Are you
Yeah,
saying
for
snow
the
monitor?
scope of the work and that stuff, did it include in this price, in the price for Garland, does that include any of that?
No, this is making the roof where we shouldn't need to monitor as a result of it being back to a weight that's stable, I guess. I may be saying that wrong.
Yeah, well, in the engineer's report, it said removing the tectum deck. The Garland doesn't remove that, that was my only concern.
Removing the tectum, the stuff we're looking at when we look at, not in this room,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
they're not removing that.
Yes, but the engineer report says for that to be removed.
But the engineer report, from what I gather, I think if
That's
I read it
for the
right, is if they
80%.
went to because the
No,
engineers.
That's OC5, the OC3 is still the same.
Yeah, but the engineers, like that whole number before, at least from what I gather, and this goes back to previous to me, was that they were doing the engineering based on this idea of going to that occupancy 5 level,
Yes,
which was like tear everything off, putting in new beams, potentially replacing the walls that don't have any reinforcement.
yeah.
If we took that part and just threw that out the window, and I hate saying the way.
No, I
but-
understand what you're saying.
And so this, because we had asked him, so he's even, was, when he spoke, that was one of the questions, I said, you know, like, what happens when you get down to that deck? And his feeling was that there's probably not much to be replaced. Again, the way he explained it to me was,
Is this Garland or Tyree?
what's that?
Is this the Garland?
Garland.
Okay, not.
If they tore off like the stone and all the extra stuff and kind of got it down to the way it was,
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
60 years ago, they'll still inspect that, the roof material, or or I guess you'd call it substrate or decking material. But he said most of the failures you'd see with that, you'd actually see from inside the building first.
Yeah.
Is the way he explained it, like that you'll see some staining, or
Yeah.
that stuff will actually break apart.
Well, you
and
can
that-
see where the tongue and groove is.
And that he
That's not.
feels that all in all, based on it, it's in pretty good shape. He didn't seem to think that there'd be like a ton of replacement, because that was my concern, is if you opened it up, all of a sudden, do we have to replace all the decking?
Yeah.
You know, from his experience, you know, he felt that, you know, it might be like piecework, but this would get it down to a better load rating.
Yeah.
Correct, probably a lot of problems that have been buried over the years. And for the cost to the community, I think this is our best bet. Otherwise, we keep putting this aside and we look at this $300,000 job, which is like what we were looking at.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it'll ever get it approved or done, you know?
Just the way it was written though, with the level 3 occupancy, Jeff Tyree still said that we had to either weld the beams or put in the monitoring. And I just wanted to make sure that if it was read that way, just make sure you include that in the price, that's all. That's all.
Don't we have
We have
monitoring now?
monitors,
Yeah.
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 I mean, we do have snow load monitoring
Yeah,
now.
and Jeff designed that for us.
I mean, that wouldn't go away, would it?
On for the inside of the roof.
I'm not sure. I just know.
We
that-
have it on the shop roof.
Yeah, I don't think we have it on the high school roof, right, Jeff, Joe?
I don't, unless you put it.
That was only on the shop roof, I don't think.
I thought it was, well, maybe not, I don't wanna speak to
The
it.
load monitors, the snow monitors, I think, are only on the shop roof. They're not on the high school.
So we're using that as a gauge for the whole
For the
building?
whole- Well,
Use that
yeah,
as-
kind of, yeah. But I understand what Joe says, that you need to go back to Tyree's report to be able to put it to bid.
I thought that was my assumption, what you were doing, I'm sorry.
Yeah. My impression is that the guy that came in from,
Garland?
Martin, that's just his idea of what to do.
No, that's,
Well, he gave three-
that's
he gave
Garland,
three options.
Garland presenting his way.
Of doing it.
No, of how to repair the roof. He, of course, is in support of a particular product,
Yes.
because that's a product that he represents.
Of course, absolutely.
Which you can't knock him for that. But it's still the scope of the work, is getting that done. You know, now, if you say it to somebody else, you know, to go out and bid it, they may not use that product, they may actually choose to use that product for all we know. But we're giving them the scope of saying removal of everything, get us down to the substrate, like putting a new roof on, having it all cleaned up nice and warranted, and hopefully the warranty doesn't fail us like it has in the past. I mean, the reality is I don't know which other way to go. I mean, in November 30th, I have all this stuff here. It was Mike Donahue, Tony Drapo approved doing a roof for $55,000. They
I agree
approved
with doing it. I'm
for
not-
$95,000 at a time. And every time we've gone through that part, nothing has happened because we say, like, January 25th, $95,000, remove and replace the EPN. So for 150, if this guy's gonna not, that's just taking off the skin, you know?
Yeah, but that's lazy. The only thing, in Tyree's report, it says, the existing Tecton structural roof deck and the concrete were to be removed and replaced with an acoustic metal, but no modifications were made to the steel bar joist, then the gym snow load capacity still would only be 78% for OC3. So it still would make the code without fixing the beams underneath that Tecton deck. That's my only concern. And I don't wanna tie you guys up with it, it's just,
No.
I just want you guys to look at that before you put it up to bid, that's all. Just in case, that's all. Just in case.
What do we need to bring it into,
Yeah.
Brian, you know?
I just don't want to be caught with that extra expense down the road and not realize that we overlooked it, that's all. Just in case it is an issue.
What do you guys
We'll have to
want?
look at it, 'cause I,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're looking at it tomorrow.
yeah, we can do that. I don't,
That's all.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
No worries, man.
Okay.
I
Tammy?
just have a quick question for Deb about the treasurer. And it's been a lot of years since I've read the Articles of Agreement, but isn't it in the Articles of Agreement that Woodstock's treasurer is the treasurer for the district?
No, in the Articles of Woodstock's trustees of the trust funds is the trustees of the trust fund for the school district.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Anything else?
jeez, that was easy.
Yeah. Seeing nothing else, I will pull the board to go into non-public.
Oh.
RSA 91-A:3 matters that may adversely affect the reputations of those other than board members.
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
It's Valentine's Day, you know I went to chair on
Guys, let's do Joe. Make
I'm
us
gonna
look
move
bad.
just the wrong way and that will ping me in the face. That's what
I have an act.
I, no, it's.